Welcome back, everybody. It's two for day. Every day is a two for day now with this ETF thing happening. But it's Tuesday, and that means OCTA. Thank you all for coming. Crypto market cap is now 2.13 trillion. Massive, massive trading volume. We'll talk a lot about volume. 120 billion in volume. 2 weeks ago, it was 40 billion. It's tripled in 2 weeks, which is stunning. Bitcoin, we had a monster time. Just shy of 57K. This thing added $7,000 pretty much in 24 hours. And I covered that in the Bitcoin daily update this morning. Bitcoin dominance, 52%. You know, it's a little bit high, but considering the price action, it's quite impressive. We will talk about some altcoins as well, what's happening there. Fear and greed, 79, really high. Ethereum, 32, 34. Ethereum has been on a roll lately. We'll talk about that as well a little bit later. So let's go. And I will be talking about supply squeeze. I've been talking about supply crunch, as I call it, for a long time, but Crypto Slate put out a very good chart, which actually got from BlackRock, and it shows you if things continue as they are, when we will run out of Bitcoin. And it's super interesting. It's also super bullish. Hey, Miles in Arizona, thank you so much for coming. Let's go. And anything I say here is just edutainment, as you know. And a shout out to Patreon. Thank you to the team as well. That helps me with everything. BMan63, we love that you share with us on Patreon your percentage holdings. Yes, I share a lot more with Patreon. It's definitely my happy place. Thank you, B-Man, and thank you as well for being there for a long time, too. So let's go. We're going to start with the bad news. You guys like the bad news and the ugly news first, so that's what we're doing. Listen. Now, hash rate, unfortunately, did rise again. It took a little bit of a dip last week, but now it's up 4.3% to 586 exahash. The more hash goes up, the more pressure it puts on our lovely miners. And believe it or not, that's the only bad news for today. But there is some ugly news. Quite a bit, actually, unfortunately. But here we go. Let's talk about the ugly news. First of all, big unlocks, massive ones. We've got Prime, a monster, 30% unlock, 5% unlock. Sui, unlocking too. Optimism, unlocking as well, about 2.52%. And DYDX, 11.08% unlock. That is big. There's been a lot of changes as well happening on the DEX front. I'll talk more about DEX volumes too in a minute. So let's jump in as well. Unfortunately, credit card delinquencies are spiking hard, and we did warn about this. We saw the early signs of this. This is from Unusual Whales. Delinquency rates on credit cards and auto loans spiked to their highest since the Great Recession, according to New York Fed and Axios. And by the way, this is what high interest rates do. And the damage we have not even seen yet. There's a huge lag in what's about to come. And it's going to smash people's credit records, credit history. They might lose their cars, so it's a very sad time. So watch your credit out there, ladies and gentlemen. In addition, another kind of inflation indicator, which is super interesting. Shout out to Sanjay Swell for sharing. It looks at the historical supply of different US dollar bills. And what you can see, what really stood out to me, is the fact that $100 bills now are far more common than $1 bills because you can't buy much with a dollar anymore, and everything's gotten so much more expensive. There's a predominance of literally, I think, about nearly 18 billion, 18.5 billion $100 bills floating around out there, and a lot less $1 bills. So some people call it a C note, C for century, and C notes are now much more common than dollars. Who would have thought? Anyway, it shows you how expensive things have become. In addition, AI bias and fraud. Google took a hit, down 4.5% because of Gemini's failure to accurately create historical images and under heavy criticisms of tons of bias. This is actually a very good thing in my opinion, because now I hope big tech will be a lot less biased and more honest as we go forward too. I wonder, if sometimes you say something on YouTube, you get cancelled. I wonder, can Google cancel themselves? Who knows? We'll see. Anyway, don't forget, every video is turned into a Substack by the team as well. Thank you, everybody. If you're interested, it's literally 10 cents a day for all the slides, all the content. Some people prefer to read or have a summary again so they make sure they don't miss anything. All right. On to the good news, which is great. Thank you as well to the mods in the chats, T&D, Tesla, and K8 and everybody. Fear and greed, back up to 79. I did cover this morning. It was 76 last week. And some people were asking questions. Well, if we're at extreme greed, is that bad? I said, no. It's more of a sentiment indicator, more of a FOMO indicator. It doesn't mean things are going to crash down at all. In addition, this is unusual. Last week, we actually saw a dip in active user addresses in crypto. And I was like, huh? It was like 4.5 million versus 5.6 million 17 or 18 weeks ago. And I was like, how did that dip? Anyway, it's back. But what's crazy is in 17 weeks, the crypto market cap went from 1.3 trillion to 2.084. It's actually a little bit higher right now as we speak. Active addresses 5.6 million to 8.3 million, and transactions 40 million up to 66 million. So chains, crypto, etc. is being much more active. And this will be a big topic we discussed today as well. I covered this morning, 50 days to go. Only 7 more OCTAs till the halving. That's not a lot of time. In terms of our monthly returns, February is now up 34.1%. And I promised you in January, February would be great. And here we are. That is a very nice monthly return. And of course, it's going to continue. I know that sounds like hopium, but the ETFs change everything. Ladies and gentlemen, that'll be part of the supply crunch analysis coming up soon too. Crypto market cap over the last 7 days, and the site I used for this was broken for Bitcoin denomination for some reason, because ETH was coming up really skewed. So I decided not to show it. I'm just showing dollar terms today. Hopefully next week it'll be fixed. But ETH and Bitcoin are both up exactly 10%. Stunning. A lot of other names kind of up a little bit, but those two are the ones that are in the sun right now. They're having their moment. Bitcoin pre-halving with ETFs as a catalyst to really light things on fire. And of course, ETH with Dencun upgrade, as well as potential ETH ETF coming too. We'll touch a bit on the Dencun upgrade because that could really change a lot of stuff out there in the cryptoverse. Coach Casey, thank you so much for coming. Now, last week I did share this chart and I said, this type of pattern, when you have 4 weeks running in a row, you can expect more gains in week 5. And bang on, this was perfect pattern recognition. The returns were insane, particularly over the last 24 hours. And I expect more of that too. Now, another chart, just to show you where we are in this cycle, how far we have come so fast. This picture says it all. You have the last cycle in 2021, you got April and November, the 2 highs. You have the first high and then the second kind of a fake out kind of squeeze. Again, discount everything from the last cycle because it was manipulated by nefarious actors. But this time, just look at how high we've come so fast. It's almost vertical. It's going vertical, in some cases, higher and faster than in previous cycles. We are only 18% away from an all-time high. And I know people say, well, the all-time high is different because of dollar debasement. We're just going to take the all-time high as it is and not calculate the debasement over the last 3 or 4 years. Now, I did make a video about 12 or 13 days ago, and this always confuses people. I always am very careful at how I phrase things. I say, if history repeats, this will happen. It doesn't mean I say this will happen. And when this doesn't happen, people get very, very upset. It's just so weird. Anyway, this was in a video 12 days ago, and I said Bitcoin will hit $62,000 in 11 days. 12 days ago. Now, we didn't hit that, but I said if history repeats, that would happen. And that was the breakdown of the actual deltas, and gains per day, pre-halving runs at the exact point in time that we're at today. Every time Bitcoin breaks through $50,000. That was the analysis, ladies and gentlemen. And the returns were typically very high in the following subsequent 11-day period, every time we broke through 50,000. But the good news is, I wasn't right, but I wasn't that far away either. We were only 8% away, ladies and gentlemen, so not bad. And 62K, we could be there. If we have another night like last night, we could be there tomorrow morning. And that's how fast this thing runs. But wait till you start hearing about other stuff too. Now, Bitwise, they predict a 50% chance of the spot ETF being approved. And their new target for Bitcoin is 88,000 by the end of the year. I think 88,000 at this rate is a very easy get, considering we're nearly at 60,000 right now. 60 to 88 for the amount of year we have left, nearly 2/3 of the year. That should be pretty easily achievable. So anyway, we shall see. In addition, quick summary of the ETF flows, and this ties into the supply crunch I'll talk about as well. We had the best money flow day from 31 days of the ETF being out there. That is trading days, 31 trading days. Over 252 approximately is about an eighth of the year is in the bag already for the ETFs. Not a lot. We have another 7/8 to go to see the full impact of these things. And this is where it gets really interesting, because they have literally smashed my expectations. I thought the new ETFs would pull in about 50 billion in a year. We're going to be probably a lot higher than that. Now, when you analyze and break this all down, I'm going to show you this chart from Crypto Slate. And it shows you a couple of different things. So we'll start with the lines at the top. There's the what I call supply crunch illustrated, updated supply metrics over time in millions. It's a log scale as well, so don't let that confuse you. And you have the current supply on the right in that purple color. Then you have green is illiquid supply. And then you have the other kind of purpley color. I don't know why they choose these colors. Liquid supply. And then yellow is very liquid supply. And then the red in the middle between the yellow and the purple on the far left is the exchange supply. Okay, now let me try and walk you through this slowly, because reading log charts can be confusing too, so I'll try explain it now. In 30 trading days, as I mentioned, the Bitcoin ETFs have sucked in over 300,000 Bitcoin under management, and this showcases the significant buying pressure and the massive impact on Bitcoin supply and supply dynamics, which I am obsessed with supply and demand and numbers, and this drives a potential for a supply crunch that I've been talking about for a long time, so it's great to see an article on this. Now, the analysis pointed out that if the inflow rate, like BlackRock's initial daily average of 6,266 Bitcoin continued, the liquid supply of Bitcoin could be fully absorbed by the year end, with liquid supplies exhausted by mid-2025, call it June-July timeframe. And this underscores the looming threat of a supply crunch due to ETF activities and projected absorption, again, of Bitcoin supply. Should the current pace of Bitcoin acquisition by the newborn 9 ETFs persist, its projected 1 million Bitcoin could be under management by June, and with the entire liquid supply of Bitcoin, approximately 1.3 million Bitcoin, could be absorbed by September. And this aggressive acquisition rate indicates a significant tightening of available Bitcoin supply, potentially leading to the mother of all supply squeezes. This is just absolutely, completely stunning. If they continue with what they've been doing for the first 31 days, we're going to be out of Bitcoin. And we're going into a halving. Okay, super exciting. So basically, what this says is this little chart here. The amount of time we have left before we get the mother of all squeezes, again, if the data is correct, which I think it is, we have between now and mid-2025. And then we see crazy things happen with price that we've never seen before in Bitcoin. This has been my Bitcoin thesis, why I've been obsessed with it since 2017 for this moment. And it could be here mid-2025. So let me know with a like if you're excited yet, because I certainly am very excited. And we'll talk more about some of the on-chain stuff. Again, I touched on some of this morning. Half of all Bitcoin has not moved in 3 years. Half. These people aren't selling. Many people interviewed many of the holders of this stuff, and they say, yeah, I'm not selling Bitcoin till it's $1 million. So how can the new ETFs get this without paying an awful lot of money, which means price goes up? Super exciting. Now, volumes as well. I hinted at this before. We had a week of relatively flat price action up until about 30 hours ago. And then things went bonkers. Now, trading volume throughout the industry is up huge. Bitcoin volume up 30.9%. Tether volume up 35.7%. Binance volume up 48.6%. Solana volume up 45.7%. Staked ETH up 29.1%. And ETH up a more modest 15.4%, but still up. Volumes have been breaking out, and this is always a very, very good sign for price action too. Boom. In addition, Bitcoin matters sometimes more than anything right now. These are Google search volumes from Into the Block, and you can see here that Bitcoin is smashing everything else. It's Bitcoin in black at the top, then you have Ethereum, little tiny pink at the bottom, Coinbase, blue, less than Ethereum, NFTs, nobody cares, Uniswap, non-existent pretty much. And that's all she wrote. This is a Bitcoin story. Bitcoin is getting all the attention. And thank you, Bitcoin Maxi, for the comment as well. In addition, whales are stacking. Again, we covered this morning just to show it again because it is OCTA. And on-chain data has screamed that new whales are accumulating Bitcoin. And they are already sitting on a 38% unrealized profit after just 30 days. Not bad. 38% gainers in 30 days. Not bad. So let's talk about this too. Bitcoin, again, hinted at this morning, has only spent 80 days above 57K. We are just shy of 57K right now. But if we get a close above it today, that would be 81 days. So again, and I think the total amount of days that Bitcoin is in existence is just shy of 5,000, like 4,973 or 4,974 days. And that's like 14 years. So crazy how this happens. So again, we are in very thin air here. And this tells me, because we are so high so early, a breakout is very, very much on the horizon. In addition, money flow. We didn't have a strong week last week, but part of that is because there was a holiday in the US. It was only a 4-day trading week. But year-to-date inflows is what matters, and they have exceeded $5.7 billion. But nothing like the spike we had the week before. But again, money is trickling in. Breaking out by asset, you'll see here some big changes too. Ethereum, 16.8 million in, 569 million into Bitcoin, and then Solana drained about 3 million, Litecoin up about 1 million, short Bitcoin up 3.9 million, XRP 1.1, and others 1.3. So there's meager flows. Again, all the attention. I'm tired of repeating it, but it's time for Bitcoin and ETH right now. They're getting all the attention, and they're also getting all the money. In addition, let's look at the performance of the last 7 days for all the top 50 cryptos. And the top chart is the last 7 days. The bottom chart is the last 30 days. I'll just rattle off the top winners. You can see here, top 3 winners for the week: Theta, Uniswap, and Render. Top 3 losers: TON, ICP, and Kaspa for the week. Last month, top 3 winners: Theta, Stacks, and Uniswap. And the losers: OKB, Injective, and XMR. And the first two, OKB and Injective, actually were flat. But because it just scores everybody and ranks them, it looks like they are bottom 3. They are, but the returns are actually pretty much flat, not negative like XMR for the last 30 days. That's important to bear in mind. And a lot of people say, I get this, it's like Bitcoin is smashing the performance of all altcoins. That's simply not true. This chart looks at Bitcoin versus the altcoins over the last 90 days. And we share it every single week. And you can see AltSeason is up to 61. So it is up a little bit higher than last week, if I recall. And that means the majority of alts are beating Bitcoin. This is a breakdown of that exact chart. You can see Bitcoin is in black. It still had a great return. But, 2/3 of the other altcoins have done far more. And that is the important takeaway here. So no, Bitcoin is not smashing everything else. In fact, if you're looking at the top 50, that is not the case at all. And I always say as well, a floating tide rises all boats, which means if Bitcoin goes up, crypto market cap goes up, ETH goes up, altcoins go up. And the altcoins run faster. Okay, it's that simple. In addition, let's speak about the biggest one of all the altcoins, ETH Coming of Age. Now, they have a new release that has a lot of people very excited. Some of the releases of ETH in the past they haven't really lived up to expectations. But this one is kind of interesting for me. And I still hold a little bit of ETH, just so you all know. But if Dencun can pull this off, hey, Doc Intern, if they can do it, what this release promises is a scalability boost. They'll do the proto-dank sharing stuff and blobs, and apparently it's like going from dial-up internet, which is the speed of Ethereum today, to high-speed internet. Also, data will be more efficient. Again, with the blob stuff, they're going to move from a tiny backpack to a huge, big semi-truck capacity, and fees will be down. Apparently, Dencun will significantly reduce gas fees for Layer 2 blockchains, and of course the Layer 1 too. And this is like, we'll see where all this goes, but the speed is interesting. They do call up to going from 15 TPS to 100,000 TPS. If that's the case, a lot of the Layer 2s may not be required. It means if Ethereum can handle that speed, it'll be able to do it all itself. And there's only a couple of chains faster than that right now today. So this could have a radical impact, not necessarily on the leading Layer 1s, but definitely the other Layer 1s that live simply by virtue of the fact they're a little bit faster than Ethereum, but it could also have a very big impact on the Layer 2s too. So this is going to be super interesting to watch. Now let's look at some chains, just to give you a perspective of the world as well. This is the amount of daily transactions by chains. I don't need to rattle them all off, but there's one that does most of the transactions, and that is Solana in green at the top. And you can see the next highest is, what's that, 1/7 of the amount of volume, about 5 million transactions per day. In addition, DEX volume, this is kind of interesting. You can see the top winners. Number 1 is Binance, number 2 is Ethereum, and number 3 right now today is Solana. There were times when Solana was number 1 back in early Feb of this month. You can see the green peaked above Binance, but since then the other two have come back up on top. So we'll see. We also had a time back in December when Solana was on top too. So we'll see where people go for their DEX activity in the future. And Dencun also could help ETH a lot in this regard. Now let's look at stocks real quick over the last 7 days. It was a good week. Again, it's still in the good news category. Nvidia up a whopping 14%. Microsoft kind of 1%. Amazon 4%, despite Jeff Bezos selling billions of dollars of stock. Tesla 3.2%. Meta 3%. Google down 1.5%, probably because they were caught with very biased AI, which I hope they fix and focus more on truth as we go forward. Bitcoin versus Nasdaq. Super interesting correlation chart. Bitcoin's off to the moon. Again, up 36% over the last 90 days. Most of that action happened in the past 2 weeks, which is stunning. QQQ up 16%. But Bitcoin, again, getting attention out there from investors, traditional investors. Nasdaq is super risk on, high tech, disruptive, normally outperforms the S&P 500, and Bitcoin is smoking it. So that'll catch attention of investors. In addition, Apple Car, a lot of people thought this was the Tesla killer. Apple have been developing their own autonomous electric whatever car. We never saw it. We heard it was being tested. The team is about 2,000 people, but as of today, Apple is winding down their electric car plans, ending a decade-long foray per Bloomberg. And some of these Apple Car employees have been cut. It's about 2,000 employees. They might pivot some of them to the AI business as well. But again, so many people thought this was the Tesla killer. Never mind all the other car companies. But you can see how hard it is to do. If Apple can't pull it off, General Motors and Ford probably can't either, although they try. In addition, this kind of took me a little bit by surprise. Bloomberg and a lot of the traditional media normally write very unfavorable articles about Tesla, but this one was very, very, complimentary. And I was like, huh, what's going on? The first kind ink I have seen in years from mainstream media. And whether you love or hate Elon Musk from Bloomberg, his Tesla Cybertruck exceeds expectations in our review. So their review completely blew them away. And they wrote honestly about it. So kudos to Bloomberg. In addition, raw materials, talked about commodities the other day, and here you can see the price of the key ingredients for batteries, lithium hydroxide and lithium carbonate, are coming down. They are almost reaching, 5-year lows. And the reason for that is very simple. All the so-called EV makers and the ICE makers coming over to EV have all retreated. They've all cancelled their orders. And now there's probably a glut of this key lithium that people thought we'd run out of. But now there's only one game in town. And they'll suck in all the lithium that they need and at a very good price. And that will reduce the cost of the cars as well going forward. Another deflationary factor. In addition to a lot of people talk about this one, who is the richest person on the world? And this is interesting. So, could Bitcoin's pseudonymous creator Satoshi Nakamoto become richer than Elon Musk? And the answer is, well, at what price? You guys and gals want to hazard a guess what the price of Bitcoin needs to be for Satoshi to be the richest person on Earth? Let's do this for fun. Drop a number here in the comments section. Some people might think $1 million. Some people might think 100,000. Nobody knows. So nobody comes in yet, but the actual answer based on Satoshi having 1.04 million Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin needs to hit. Hey, Stephen Weston, how are you, buddy? Thank you so much. The price of Bitcoin needs to hit $189,700 for Satoshi Nakamoto to become the richest person on the planet. So we'll see. And Satoshi has been a lot in the news lately. I thought that was very interesting. And finally, a tiny, tiny little bit of good news. Global liquidity has been down all year. Global money supply is up, but global liquidity down. What's going on here? But we did have $100 billion added. It's almost impossible to see on this chart. I wish Rational Root would let us expand them. This is from the Bitcoin Strategy platform. But if you zoom into the very right and you calculate from a week ago to today, we have $100 billion more in global liquidity than we did last Tuesday. So that is awesome. And it's going to turn around as well, because global liquidity typically will follow M2, and M2 is already on the rise as well. So thank you everybody for coming. Hope you enjoyed the second video of the day. And thank you all for the mods in the chat, and Ben and Jimmy the Kid and everybody else. Hope you enjoy the show. Let me know down below and hit the like on the way out. And thank you as well to K8 and TND Tesla for keeping us all protected and safe. Wow, 5,000 people watching. That's good. You guys are still here. It's Tuesday and the market's crazy. Oh, by the way, before I hang up, let's see what Bitcoin's doing. It is taking a tiny bit of a dump. It is down $300 away from 57,000. But remember, the action happens sometimes when Asia wakes up in about 3 hours. So thank you all for coming. See you all tomorrow. Have a good night. Bye.